The alien princess gave me shocking news. I'm pregnant. And it's yours. Human, Part 1. The Revelation Commander Jake Morrison stood at the observation deck of Station Harmony, watching the blue-green planet Kepler 404 to be slowly rotate below. The massive space station orbited the neutral world like a metal moon, housing diplomats from dozens of different species. Jake had been here for 3 months now, trying to build bridges between Earth and the mysterious ethereal consortium. The consortium was unlike any alien race humans had ever encountered. They looked like living crystals that walked upright, their bodies shifting between different colors depending on their emotions. They were beautiful, intelligent, and completely logical about everything. Too logical, Jake often thought. His wrist communicator buzzed with an urgent message. The sender made his heart skip a beat. Princess Zareth of the Ethereal Consortium. Jake hadn't heard from her in 6 months, not since their secret meetings during the last peace negotiations. Meet me in Docking Bay 7. Come alone. This is important. The message was simple, but Jake could sense worry in her words. Jake made his way through the station's busy corridors. Alien beings of all shapes and sizes moved around him. The tall, green Verdani with their leaf-like skin, the small but fierce Coraxians with their metal armor, and dozens of other species. But Jake's mind was focused on Zareth. 6 months ago, during the failed peace talks on Earth's moon, Jake and Zareth had shared something special. It was supposed to be just a moment of connection between two lonely diplomats from different worlds. They had talked for hours about their hopes for peace, their fears for their people, and somehow they had found comfort in each other's arms. It was foolish, Jake knew. Humans and the consortium were barely allies, and personal relationships between their species were strongly discouraged. But Zareth was different from other consortium members. She seemed to understand human emotions in a way her people didn't. Docking Bay 7 was empty except for a small, elegant ship that gleamed like a giant jewel. Jake recognized it as Zareth's personal vessel. As he approached, a door opened with a soft musical sound that was typical of consortium technology. Jake. Zareth's voice came from inside the ship. Please come in quickly. Jake stepped inside and gasped. The interior of the ship was like being inside a living rainbow. The walls pulsed with soft colors, and the air itself seemed to sing with gentle harmonies. Zareth stood in the center of the main chamber, and Jake's breath caught in his throat. She was as beautiful as he remembered. Her crystalline body was about 7 feet tall and shaped like a graceful human woman, but made entirely of what looked like living diamond. Right now, her body glowed with soft purple and blue lights, which Jake had learned meant she was nervous and sad. Zareth, Jake said, stepping toward her. What's wrong? Why all the secrecy? She turned to face him, and Jake saw something in her large, multifaceted eyes that he had never seen before. Fear, she said, her voice like wind chimes in. A gentle breeze. I have news that will change everything. I am pregnant. Jake felt the world spin around him. Pregnant? But that's wonderful. Who's the father? Zareth's body flashed bright red, then settled into a deep pulsing gold. You are, Jake. You are the father. The words hit Jake like a physical blow. He staggered backward, his mind racing. That's impossible. We're different species. We can't. Biology doesn't work that way. I thought so too, Zareth said, moving closer to him. But our scientists have confirmed it. Somehow our brief time together 6 months ago has resulted in this pregnancy. Jake sat down heavily on what appeared to be a chair made of solid light. How is this possible? Your people reproduce through some kind of energy transfer, right? Not like humans do. Zareth nodded, her colors shifting to a soft green that meant she was trying to explain something complex. Yes, we reproduce through harmonic resonance. 2 consortium members share their life energies, and if the harmonies match perfectly, a new life begins. It requires precise mental synchronization and energy patterns. Then how? Your human emotions, Jake. They're so intense, so chaotic. Compared to our ordered thoughts? When we were together, When you shared your feelings with me, your neural patterns somehow triggered our reproduction cycle. Ah! Zarath's voice was filled with wonder and terror. No one thought it was possible. Jake stood up and began pacing, a very human habit that seemed to fascinate Zareth. Okay, let's say this is real. Let's say we're going to have a baby together. Why are you so scared? This could be amazing, the first human consortium hybrid. Think of what it could mean for peace between our species. Zaretha's body flashed bright red again. You don't understand. In consortium law, cross-species reproduction is forbidden. It's considered genetic contamination. When my people discover this pregnancy, they will demand that it be terminated immediately, and they will execute both of us for violating the purity laws. The weight of her words settled over Jake like a heavy blanket. Execute us? For having a baby? The consortium believes that mixing species leads to chaos and destruction. They think that pure bloodlines are the only way to maintain order in the galaxy. Zarath moved to a window that looked out at the stars. I have been hiding the pregnancy for 2 months now, but I cannot hide it much longer. The energy changes in my body are becoming too obvious. Jake joined her at the window, his mind working through the problem. This was what humans were good at, finding solutions when everything seemed hopeless. There has to be a way. Can we go to Earth? My government would protect you. Your government has already been contacted by the Consortium Council, Zareth said sadly. They know about our past meetings. They suspect something, but have no proof yet. If I flee to Earth, it will be seen as an act of war. Then we run. We find somewhere neutral, somewhere safe, until the baby is born. Once people see that our child isn't some monster, maybe minds will change. Zareth H. turned to look at him, her eyes reflecting all the colors of her emotional spectrum. You would give up everything? Your career? Your home? Your safety? For me and a child you never planned to have. Jake reached out and took her crystalline hand in his human one. Where their skin touched, soft sparks of light danced between them. Zareth, when I was with you 6 months ago, I felt something I'd never felt before. And not just attraction or friendship, but ... connection. Like we were meant to find each other. If this baby is real, if we created a new life together, then yes, I'll give up everything to protect both of you. Tears that looked like liquid diamonds ran down Zareth's face. This is what I don't understand about humans. Your ability to make choices based on emotion rather than logic. My people would call it madness. Maybe it is madness, Jake said, with a smile at its human madness, and it's gotten us this far in the galaxy. Suddenly, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Zaretha's body flashed bright white, the color of extreme fear. What's happening? Jake demanded. Zareth rushed to a control panel that responded to her touch. The main screen lit up with images of the space around the station. Jake's blood ran cold as he saw what was approaching. 3 massive consortium warships were moving toward Station Harmony, their crystal hulls gleaming like deadly jewels in the starlight. These weren't ordinary diplomatic vessels. They were purifier ships, used by the consortium's most elite warriors to eliminate what they called genetic contamination. They know, Zarath whispered. Somehow they know about the pregnancy. Jake felt a familiar surge of human stubbornness and determination. And then we run. Right now. Jake, those are purifier ships. They have weapons that can destroy entire planets. I cannot outrun them in my small vessel. Maybe not, Jake said, moving to the pilot's area. But humans didn't become a spacefaring species by giving up when things looked impossible. Can this ship make it to the asteroid belt near the mining colonies? Yes, but then that's where we're going. Those miners don't ask questions, and they don't follow consortium laws. Jake's hands moved over the unfamiliar controls. Can you teach me to fly this thing? Zareth stared at him for a moment, then her body began glowing with bright gold. The color of hope and determination. Yes. But Jake, you must understand, once we leave this station, there will be no going back. We will be fugitives from both our peoples. Jake looked at her, then placed his hand on her belly, where their impossible child was growing. Then we better make sure this kid grows up in a galaxy worth living in. As the purifier ships closed in on Station Harmony, Zareth's vessel slipped quietly out of the docking bay and disappeared into the darkness between the stars. Carrying the future of two species in its crystal heart, the alien princess gave me shocking news. I'm pregnant, and it's yours. Human Part 2. The hunt begins. Jake's hands shook as he tried to control Zarth's ship. The crystal vessel moved through space like a living thing, responding to both touch and emotion. Behind them, the three purifier ships were getting closer, their weapons charging with deadly light. "Jake, you need to stay calm," Zareth said, her body glowing with urgent orange colors. "The ship responds to your feelings. You panic? It will panic too." "Easy for you to say," Jake muttered, watching the enemy ships on the screen. "Those things are 3 times our size and probably have enough firepower to blow up a moon." Zarath placed her crystalline hand on his shoulder. Where she touched him, Jake felt a strange calm wash over him. The ship immediately responded, moving more smoothly through space. "That's better," she said. "Now listen carefully. We need to reach the asteroid mining belt, but first we must lose them in the station's shadow. Can you do that?" Jake nodded, his human instincts for survival kicking in. He had always been good at thinking fast in dangerous situations. It was what made him a good diplomat, and hopefully what would keep them alive now. He guided the ship around the massive space station, using its bulk to hide from the purifier's sensors. The plan worked for a few minutes, but then alarms started blaring again. "They're scanning the entire area," Zareth said, her voice tight with worry. "They will find us soon." "Then we make a run for it," Jake said. He pushed the ship's engines to maximum power, and they shot out from behind the station like a bullet. The purifier ships immediately gave chase. Jake could see them on the screen, moving with perfect formation and deadly purpose. These weren't ordinary consortium soldiers, they were the elite hunters, who eliminated anyone who threatened the genetic purity of their species. "Jake," Zareth said suddenly, "there's something I need to tell you about the pregnancy now. While we're being chased by killer spaceships, it's important, the baby is not developing like a normal consortium child. The energy patterns are completely different." Her body shifted to a deep blue color that Jake had learned meant she was sharing something very personal. "My people reproduce by creating perfect harmonic balance. But this child, ... it thrives on chaos." Jake almost laughed, despite their dangerous situation. "Chaos? That sounds about right for a half-human kid. You don't understand. In consortium biology, chaos means death. Our bodies need perfect order to survive. But somehow, your human emotional chaos is exactly what this pregnancy needs to grow strong." A blast of energy shot past their ship, close enough to make the walls glow with reflected light. The purifiers were firing warning shots. "Great, Jake," said, pushing the ship into a spinning dive toward the asteroid belt. "So our kid is going to be as crazy as humans and as beautiful as your people, assuming we live long enough for it to be born." The asteroid belt stretched out ahead of them like a field of floating mountains. Jake had visited the mining colonies here before during trade negotiations. The miners were rough, independent people who cared more about finding valuable metals than following government rules. "There," Zareth H. pointed to a large asteroid with lights on its surface. "That's mining station Beta 7. They have underground tunnels where we can hide." Jake aimed for the station, but the purifier ships were gaining on them. Their weapons charged up for another shot, this time not a warning. "Hold on," Jake said. Then he did something completely unpredictable. He cut the engines and let their ship drift toward the asteroid field like a piece of space junk. "What are you doing?" Zareth gasped. "Something humans are really good at, being unpredictable?" The purifier ships, expecting Jake to keep running, flew past them at full speed. By the time they realized what had happened, Jake had restarted the engines and was weaving through the asteroids toward the mining station. But the purifiers were smart too. They split up, surrounding the asteroid field and forcing Jake deeper into the dangerous space rocks. "This is crazy," Zareth said, as Jake barely avoided a collision with a spinning asteroid. "One wrong move, and we'll be crushed. Trust me," Jake said. "Humans have been doing crazy things to survive for thousands of years. It's what we're best at." He guided the ship through gaps that seemed too small, around asteroids that spun like deadly tops, and between chunks of rock that could have destroyed them in seconds. The purifier ships tried to follow, but their larger size and logical flight patterns made them slower in the chaotic asteroid field. Finally, they reached mining station Beta 7. Jake brought the ship down in a landing bay carved into the solid rock of the asteroid. As soon as they landed, miners in heavy work suits surrounded them with weapons drawn. "Who are you and what do you want?" demanded a gruff voice over the communication system. Jake opened the ship's door and stepped out with his hands raised. "Commander Jake Morrison, Earth's Diplomatic Corps, we need sanctuary." One of the miners removed her helmet, revealing a weathered human face with suspicious eyes. "Morrison, I heard about you. You're the one who's been trying to make peace with the Crystal people." "That's right. This is Princess Zareth of the Consortium. We're being hunted by purifier ships." The miners exchanged glances. The purifiers had a reputation even out here in the lawless asteroid belt. "Why should we risk our lives for you?" the woman asked. Before Jake could answer, Zareth stepped out of the ship. Her crystalline body was glowing with soft colors that seemed to make the rough mining station look beautiful. Several of the miners gasped in amazement. "Because," Jake said, "we're carrying something that could change the galaxy forever." The lead miner, who introduced herself as Captain Rosa Santos, listened to their story in her office, deep inside the asteroid. The walls were rough stone, and the air smelled of metal and machine oil. It was about as different from Zareth's elegant ship as possible. "So you're telling me," Rosa said, "that you two lovebirds somehow created a baby that shouldn't be able to exist, and now the Crystal Police want to kill you for it?" "That's about right," Jake said. Rosa laughed, a rough sound that echoed off the stone walls. "Well, I've heard stranger stories out here in the belt, and I sure don't like those purifier bastards thinking they can hunt people in my territory." "You'll help us, Zareth?" asked hopefully. "For now. But you need to understand something. Those ships up there aren't going to give up. They'll wait us out, and eventually they'll attack this station to get to you." Jake felt his human stubbornness. Rising, "Then we need to find a permanent solution." "Like what?" "Like proving that our child isn't a threat. Like showing both our peoples that diversity makes us stronger, not weaker." Rosa shook her head. "Boy, you've got more optimism than sense." "But I like that in a person." Suddenly the station's alarms began blaring. Rosa grabbed a communication device from her desk. "What's happening up there?" she demanded. "Captain, you need to see this," came the reply. "The purifier ships. They're doing something to the asteroids around us." They rushed to the station's observation deck. Through the reinforced windows, they could see the 3 purifier ships positioned around their asteroid. Beams of energy were shooting from there. Weapons, but not at the station, at the other asteroids nearby. "They're destroying our escape routes," Zareth said, her body flashing with alarm colors. "They're trapping us here," Smart Rosa admitted grudgingly. "Destroy the asteroids. We could hide behind, force us to stay put, then demand we surrender you too." Jake watched the systematic destruction of their hiding places and felt something burning in his chest, the human refusal to give up even when everything seemed hopeless. "Rosa," he said, "how deep do these tunnels go?" "Miles deep." "Why?" "Because humans didn't become the most adaptable species in known space by giving up when things got tough." Jake turned to Zareth. "You've said our baby thrives on chaos, right? Well, it's about to get all the chaos it can handle." As the purifier ships continued their methodical destruction of the asteroid field, Jake began planning something that would have terrified any logical being in the galaxy. But Jake wasn't logical, he was human, and humans had a talent for turning impossible situations into victories. The hunt was just beginning. But the hunters had no idea what they were really chasing. "The alien princess gave me shocking news. I'm pregnant, and it's yours." Human Part 3. Unlikely allies, deep in the mining tunnels of Beta 7. Jake sat with Captain Rosa Santos and her second-in-command, a tough-looking man called Marcus. The rough stone walls were lit by dim lights, and the air was thick with the smell of machinery and sweat. Zareth stood near the tunnel entrance, her crystalline body providing extra light in the darkness. "All right, Morrison," Rosa said, leaning back in her metal chair. "You said you had a plan. Let's hear it." Jake looked around the small group of miners who had gathered to listen. These were hard people who had chosen to live on the edge of civilized space, mining dangerous asteroids for valuable metals. They didn't trust governments or follow many laws, but they had their own code of honor. First, I need to know something, Jake said. Have any of you ever heard of cross-species relationships before? Not just rumors, but actual cases. The miners exchanged glances. Finally, Marcus spoke up. There was a story a few years back, a Verdani trader and a human woman. They said the woman got pregnant, but the baby died before it was born. Authorities covered it up real quick. What about that Coraxian fellow who used to work here? Another miner added. He was always talking about his human girlfriend on Earth. Said they were planning to get married. Rosa nodded slowly. Yeah, I remember him. One day he just disappeared, never came back for his pay or his belongings. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. What do you think happened to him? Same thing that happens to anyone who gets too close to secrets the big governments don't want people knowing about, Rosa said grimly. Zeroth moved closer to the group, her colors shifting to a deep purple that showed she was thinking hard. Jake, what if these cases weren't accidents? What if there have been successful cross-species children, but they've been hidden or eliminated? That's what I'm thinking too, Jake said, which means our baby isn't the first. It's just the first that might actually survive long enough to prove it's possible. Suddenly, the tunnel's communication system crackled to life. Captain Santos, this is Commander Vexcon of the Purifier Fleet. We know you are harboring the contaminated individuals. Surrender them immediately, or we will consider your station a legitimate military target. Rosa grabbed the communicator and spoke into it with a voice full of anger. This is Captain Santos. You're an independent mining territory, Crystal Boy. We don't recognize your authority here.
Us.
You have 1 hour to comply, came the cold reply. After that, we will begin systematic destruction of your facility. The communication cut off, leaving the tunnel in tense silence. Well, Marcus said. With dark humor, that went well. Jake stood up and began pacing, his mind working on the problem. This was what humans did best, finding solutions when everything seemed hopeless. Rosa, how many people live on this station? He asked. About 200 miners and their families, she replied. Why? Because I won't let innocent people die for us. There has to be another way. Jake Sarath said softly, perhaps we should surrender. If it saves these people, ... No, Jake said firmly. That's exactly what they expect us to do. Humans don't give up that easily. Stopped pacing and looked at the group. Rosa, you said there are miles of tunnels in this asteroid. Do they connect to other asteroids? Some of them do. The miners have been connecting asteroids for years to share resources and equipment. Why? Because we're going to disappear. It's not just from this asteroid, but from this entire system. And we're going to do it in a way that makes it impossible for them to track us. Marcus laughed. And how exactly do we do that? Jake grinned, the expression making him look almost dangerous. By using the one thing that drives logical beings like the consortium, crazy, complete unpredictability. Over the next 30 minutes, Jake explained his plan. It was risky, complicated, and relied on timing that would have to be perfect. But it was also completely insane, which meant the purifiers would never see it coming. The plan started with Marcus and 3 other miners taking an old cargo ship and flying it toward the edge of the asteroid field. It would make just enough noise to attract the purifiers' attention and lead them on a chase away from Beta-7, while the purifiers were distracted. Jake and Zareth would escape through the tunnel system to another asteroid where Rosa had hidden an emergency ship. This ship was old and beaten up, but it had one important feature. It was completely invisible to most scanning systems because it was built from salvaged parts that didn't match any known ship design. The beauty of this plan, Jake explained, is that it doesn't rely on superior technology or firepower. It relies on chaos and misdirection, things humans are naturally good at. As they prepared to put the plan into action, Zeroth pulled Jake aside. There's something else I need to tell you about the pregnancy, she said, her body glowing with nervous colors. More surprises? Jake asked. The baby. It's been affecting me in ways I didn't expect. My energy patterns are becoming more chaotic, more human. I'm starting to feel emotions the way you do, instead of just understanding them logically. Jake reached out and took her crystalline hand. Is that bad? I don't know. For a consortium member, it should be terrifying. Society is based on logical order and emotional control. But she paused, her color shifting to a warm gold. It feels wonderful. I'm starting to understand why humans make decisions with their hearts instead of just their minds. I'm starting to understand how your people can stay so calm in dangerous situations, Jake replied. Maybe that's what this baby represents, the best of both our species. Their conversation was interrupted by Rosa's voice over the communication system. All right, people, it's showtime. Marcus, get that cargo ship ready. Everyone else, prepare for evacuation procedures. The next hour was the longest of Jake's life. He and Zareth waited in the deepest part of the tunnel system while above them. Marcus led the purifier ships on a wild chase through the asteroid field. The miners had done their job perfectly. All 3 enemy ships had followed the decoy, leaving Beta 7 temporarily unguarded. Now, Rosa whispered into her communicator. Jake and Zarath moved through the tunnels as quickly as they could. The passages were narrow and rough, carved by mining equipment rather than designed for comfort. Zarath's crystalline body scraped against the stone walls, but she never complained. They reached the hidden asteroid just as Marcus's ship was finally captured by the purifiers. Jake felt sick knowing that brave miners were now prisoners because of him. But Rosa assured him that Marcus and his crew were too valuable as hostages to be harmed immediately. The emergency ship was exactly as Rosa described, old, ugly, and completely unremarkable. It looked like it had been built from spare parts by someone who didn't care about appearance, only function. She's not pretty, Rosa said as they climbed aboard, but she'll get you where you need to go without anyone noticing. Where exactly are we going? Jake asked as he studied the ship's controls. There's a place called Haven Station about 3 days from here, Rosa explained. It's run by people like us, outcasts, criminals, and folks who don't fit in with the major governments. If anyone can help you, it's them. As they prepared to launch, Zareth suddenly gasped and grabbed Jake's arm. Her body flashed with bright, chaotic colors. What's wrong? Jake asked. The baby, she whispered. Something's happening. Jake looked at her in alarm, but then he noticed something amazing. Where Zareth was touching him, the air around them seemed to shimmer with energy. The ship's lights grew brighter, and the engines hummed with more power than they should have had. It's not wrong, Zareth said, wonder in her voice. The baby.
Yes.
It's responding to our emotions. Our determination to survive is making it stronger. Jake stared at her in amazement. You mean our kid is already helping us? In a way, yes. The energy patterns it's creating are boosting this ship's systems. Rosa whistled in amazement. Well, I'll be damned. That baby of yours is going to be something special. As they launched from the hidden asteroid and disappeared into the darkness of space, Jake felt something he hadn't felt since this whole adventure began. Hope. They were still being hunted by the most dangerous warriors in the consortium fleet, but they had allies now. More importantly, they had proof that their child was something new and wonderful, not the contamination the purifiers claimed it was behind. Them, the 3 purifier ships, realized they had been tricked and began searching frantically for their escaped prey. But Jake's ugly little ship was already far away, carrying the future of 2 species toward whatever destiny awaited them at Haven Station. The hunt was far from over, but for the first time, Jake felt like they might actually have a chance to win. The alien princess gave me shocking news. I'm pregnant, and it's yours. Human Part 4. The Emperor's Ultimatum 3, days after escaping the asteroid belt. Jake and Zareth arrived at Haven Station. The massive structure looked like it had been built from the wreckage of 100 different ships welded together. It orbited a dead planet in a system that didn't appear on any official star charts. Welcome to the end of the universe, Jake muttered, as their small ship approached the docking bay. Haven Station was home to smugglers, pirates, political refugees, and anyone else who didn't fit into the ordered societies of the major galactic powers. It was ugly, dangerous, and completely lawless, which made it the perfect place to hide. As they docked, Jake noticed their ship's energy readings were still higher than normal. The baby was continuing to boost their systems in ways that shouldn't have been possible. "Zareth, how are you feeling?" he asked as they prepared to leave the ship. Her crystalline body was glowing with a mix of colors Jake had never seen before, not pure consortium emotions, but something new. "Different," she said. "The pregnancy is changing me in ways I don't understand. I can feel the baby's thoughts sometimes, and they're not like either of our species." "What do you mean?" "It thinks in patterns that are both logical and chaotic. At the same time, like it's creating a completely new way of understanding the universe." They were met at the airlock by a short, tough-looking woman with cybernetic implants covering half her face. "You Morrison?" she asked in a gravelly voice. "That's right, and you are." "Captain Vera Cross. Rosa Santos sent word you were coming. Said you had something that might interest my boss." They followed Captain Cross through the station's crowded corridors. The place was a maze of different architectural styles from dozens of species, all jammed together without any planning. Humans, aliens, and cyborgs of every description moved through the passages, conducting business that was probably illegal in most civilized systems. "So what exactly is this place?" Jake asked as they walked. "Haven Station is where people come when they don't have anywhere else to go," Cross explained. "My boss, Admiral Kane, built it for folks who got thrown out of their own societies for being different." They arrived at a large chamber that served as the station's command center. Sitting behind a desk made from salvaged ship parts was a man Jake recognized from news reports, Admiral Marcus Kane, former Earth Fleet commander, who had been court-martialed for refusing to follow orders during the Caraxian War. "Commander Morrison," Kane said, standing up. "I've heard interesting things about you. This must be the consortium princess who's caused such a stir." Jake was surprised by how normal Kane looked. For someone who was supposed to be one of the galaxy's most dangerous outlaws, he seemed like just a tired old soldier. Admiral Jake said, "We need help. We're being hunted by consortium purifiers for something that shouldn't be a crime." Kane gestured for them to sit down. "Rosa told me the basics. You'd have somehow managed to create a hybrid child, and now both your governments want you dead." "Is that about right?" "That's right," Zerath said. "But the child is not the contamination. They claim it is. It represents something new. A bridge between our species." Kane leaned back in his chair. "You know, I've been running this station for 10 years now. In that time, I've seen dozens of mixed couples flee here from various governments. Humans and Verdani, Caraxians and Zalari, even a few human consortium pairs like yourselves." Jake felt his heart skip a beat. "Others like us made it here. Some did. But here's the thing that might interest you. The children from those unions aren't just surviving. They're thriving. And they all have abilities that neither parent species possesses." Kane activated a holographic display that showed images of various beings. They looked like mixtures of different alien species, but there was something special about them. They seemed to glow with an inner light. "This is Chunkeller," Kane said, pointing to a being that looked part human and part Verdani. Her parents fled Earth when the government tried to separate them. She can communicate with any form of plant life and accelerate their growth. Very useful for growing food in space. "This is Core X7, half human and half Caraxian. He can interface directly with any computer system without equipment. Makes him the best ship engineer in known space." "How many are there?" Zerath asked, her colors shifting with amazement. 43 confirmed hybrid children, with more being born every year. Each one has abilities that their parent species can't match. Kane looked directly at Jake and Zareth. "Your child won't just be special. It'll be part of a new generation that could change how every species in the galaxy relates to each other." Their conversation was interrupted by alarms blaring throughout the station. Cross rushed to a communication panel. "Admiral, we've got big trouble incoming," she reported. "Long-range sensors are picking up a massive fleet heading this way." Kane's face went grim. "How massive?" 50 ships, sir. Mixed consortium and Earth fleet vessels. Jake felt his blood turn to ice. They're working together? Kane nodded grimly. Looks like your little romance has done something that decades of diplomacy couldn't. It got both your governments to cooperate. Unfortunately, they're cooperating to kill you. The main screen lit up with an image of space around Haven Station. Jake could see the approaching fleet. It was the largest military force he had ever seen, outside of a major war. They found us, Zarath said, her body flashing with fear colors. Actually, Kane said, I think they've been tracking you the whole time. This was probably a trap. Let you think you escaped, follow you here, then destroy the one place in the galaxy where hybrid families can live safely. A new voice came over the communication system, cold and commanding. This is Emperor Vexen of the Consortium Fleet. Admiral Kane. You will surrender the contaminated individuals immediately, or we will destroy your station and everyone on it. Vexen was Zarath's father, the Emperor. Of the entire consortium, Father Zarath whispered, her colors going completely white with shock. Kane picked up the communicator. This is Admiral Kane. Haven Station is neutral territory. We don't recognize your authority here. You have 1 hour to comply, the Emperor's voice replied. After that, we will consider this station a legitimate military target. I will not allow my daughter's contamination to spread throughout the galaxy. The communication cut off, leaving the command center in stunned silence. Your father is leading the fleet? Jake asked Zarath. She nodded, unable to speak. Her body was cycling through colors so quickly it looked like a rainbow storm. Kane stood up and began giving orders to his crew. All civilians, 2 emergency shelters. Prepare all defensive systems. Get me a count on how many ships we can put into space. Cross reported, we've got maybe 20 combat-capable vessels against their 50, and most of ours are converted cargo ships. Then we'll have to be creative, Kane said. He turned to Jake. Morrison, you're supposed to be good at impossible diplomatic solutions. Any ideas? Jake looked around the room at all the desperate faces, then at Zarath, who was carrying their miracle child. He felt that familiar human stubbornness rising in his chest, the refusal to accept defeat even when everything seemed hopeless. Actually, he said, I do have an idea. It's completely insane. Those are usually the best kind, Kane replied. Jake took a deep breath. What if we don't run or fight? What if we prove to both fleets that hybrid children aren't contamination? They're evolution? How do we do that? We invite both fleets to Haven Station. We show them the hybrid families living here. We let them see that diversity makes us stronger, not weaker. Jake looked at Zarath. And we do it with the one thing that neither government can argue with, love. Kane stared at him. You want to invite 50 warships full of people who want to kill you to come aboard this station? As Jake said firmly. Because once they see what we've built here, once they meet the hybrid children and see their abilities, they'll understand that we're not destroying our species, we're creating something better. Zarath reached out and took Jake's hand, where their skin touched. Sparks of energy danced between them, energy that was neither fully human nor fully consortium, but something entirely new. It could work, she said softly. If we can show them what our children are capable of. Kane looked at them both for a long moment, then started laughing. You two are either completely crazy or completely brilliant. Maybe both, he picked. Up the communicator again, says Admiral Kane to all approaching fleets. I have a proposition for you. Come aboard Haven Station under a temporary truce, and we'll show you something that will change your understanding of what it means to be alive in this universe. As the massive fleet approached Haven Station, Jake held Zarath close and felt their unborn child moving inside her. In a few hours, they would either be dead, or they would have started a revolution that would transform the galaxy forever. Either way, they would face it together. The alien princess gave me shocking news. I'm pregnant, and it's yours. Human Part 5. New beginnings. The main docking bay of Haven Station had never seen anything like it. Ships from both the Earth Fleet and the Consortium Navy sat side by side, their crews eyeing each other with suspicion and barely contained hostility. Admiral Kane had managed to convince both fleets to send small diplomatic parties aboard. but the tension in the air was thick enough to cut with a knife. Jake stood beside Zareth in the station's main assembly hall. Watching as representatives from both governments filed in, her pregnancy was now clearly visible. Her crystalline body had developed a glowing core where the baby was growing, pulsing with energy patterns that were unlike anything either species had ever seen. Emperor Vexen entered the hall, surrounded by his personal guard. He was massive, even for a consortium member, his crystalline body towering over everyone else and glowing with the cold blue light of absolute authority. When his multifaceted eyes found Zareth, his color shifted to deep purple, the color of profound disappointment. "Daughter," he said, in a voice like breaking glass, "look what you have become." Zareth stepped forward, her own colors steady and determined. "Father, I have become something new, something better." From the Earth's delegation, Admiral Sarah Chen approached. Jake recognized her as his former colleague from the diplomatic corps. Her face was stern, but he could see worry in her eyes. She said quietly, "You need to end this madness. Both governments are prepared to offer you amnesty if you agree to terminate the pregnancy and submit to genetic cleansing." Jake felt that familiar human stubbornness rise in his chest. "Cleansing? You mean brainwashing us to forget we ever loved each other?" "It's for the good of both species," Chen replied. "These hybrid experiments are dangerous. They could destabilize the genetic integrity of all life in the galaxy." "Actually," said a young voice from the crowd, "we're probably the most stable beings in the galaxy." Everyone turned to look at the speaker. It was Chunkular, the human Verdani hybrid Kane had shown them earlier. She looked about 16 years old, with human features, but skin that had the green tint and texture of living wood. Around her stood other hybrid children of various ages and species combinations. "My name is Chunkular," she said, stepping forward, with confidence that amazed Jake. "My human mother and Verdani father fell in love 20 years ago. According to your laws, I shouldn't exist, but here I am." She placed her hand on a dead metal wall panel. Immediately, vines and flowers began growing from it, turning the cold metal into a living garden. "I can make any environment habitable for any species. I can communicate with plants across light years of space. One can heal damaged ecosystems. With just a touch?" Emperor Vexen stared at the display, his colors shifting rapidly. "Impossible. Hybrid genetics should be unstable, chaotic." "We are chaotic," said another hybrid child, this one part human and part Caraxian. "But we're also logical. We combine the best of both parent species and create something new." He touched a damaged communication panel that had been sparking and malfunctioning. Instantly, it began working perfectly. "I can interface with any technology from any species. My chaos helps me understand systems that pure logic cannot solve." More hybrid children stepped forward, each demonstrating abilities that left both delegations speechless. A human Zalari hybrid who could survive in any environment. A Verdana Caraxian hybrid who could grow computer circuits like plants. Each child was living proof that diversity created strength, not weakness. "This is what you're trying to destroy," Jake said, looking around the room. "Not contamination, but evolution. These children aren't threats to our species. They're the next step in our development." Emperor Vexen approached his daughter slowly. "Zareth, even if these hybrids are stable, you are still violating the fundamental laws of our society. Order must be maintained." Father Zareth said, her colors shifting to warm gold. "I understand order, but I also understand something. Our people have forgotten love creates its own kind of order. Jake and I didn't plan this child, but every day it grows stronger because of the love we share." As if responding to her words, the baby moved inside her, and a pulse of energy rippled out from her body. Every piece of technology in the room suddenly worked better. Lights grew brighter. Communication systems cleared up, and even the artificial gravity felt more stable. "The child is already helping," whispered Dr. Martinez, a scientist from the Earth's delegation. "Its energy patterns are optimizing every system it touches." Admiral Chen stared at the readings on her tablet. "The energy output is impossible. It's like the baby is creating perfect harmony between chaotic and ordered systems." Emperor Vexthan reached out with one massive crystalline hand and gently touched his daughter's glowing belly. The moment his skin made contact, his eyes went wide with shock. His colors shifted through the entire spectrum, faster than Jake had ever seen. "I can feel it," the Emperor whispered. The child's thoughts, they're not chaotic or ordered, they're both. It's creating a new kind of consciousness. Suddenly Zareth gasped and grabbed Jake's arm. "Something's happening. The baby, it's coming now." Jake asked in panic. "Here." "Hybrid births happen fast," Chunkler said, moving to help. "The babies are eager to join the world." What happened next would be talked about across the galaxy for generations. As Zareth's labor progressed, energy began flowing out from her in waves. Every hybrid child in the room began glowing with sympathetic energy. The very air seemed to sing with harmonies that touched both human emotions and consortium logic. Emperor Vexthon and Admiral Chen found themselves standing side by side, their old prejudices forgotten as they watched new life coming into the universe. The energy waves from the birth were affecting everyone in the room, creating temporary mental links between species that had never truly understood each other before. "I can feel what they feel," Admiral Chen whispered, tears in her eyes. Love, the hope, the determination to protect their child. This isn't contamination. It's the most beautiful thing I've ever experienced. Emperor Vexton's colors had settled into a pattern Jake had never seen before. Not pure consortium emotions, but something that included human warmth and caring. "My people have forgotten what it means to truly feel. This child is not a threat to our order, it's an evolution of it." When baby Kira was finally born, the entire station fell silent. She was perfect, a tiny being that looked both human and consortium, her skin shifting between flesh tones and crystalline patterns. Her eyes held the depth of human emotion and the clarity of consortium logic. But most amazing of all, her presence seemed to bring peace to everyone around her. The energy she radiated made humans feel calmer and more thoughtful, while making consortium members feel warmer and more connected to their emotions. "She's beautiful," Emperor Vexen said, his voice filled with wonder as he looked at his granddaughter. "What will you name her?" "Kira," Jake said, holding his daughter for the first time. Means light in ancient human languages. Admiral Chen stepped forward, her official demeanor completely gone. "Commander Morrison, I owe you an apology. We were wrong to try to stop this child. She represents hope for all of us." Over the following months, everything changed. Emperor Vexton returned to consortium space and began advocating for new laws that would allow cross-species relationships. Admiral Chen did the same with Earth's government. Haven Station became an official diplomatic outpost with representatives from dozens of species coming to study the hybrid families. Jake and Zareth settled on a new world, designated as a sanctuary for interspecies families. Their daughter Kira grew quickly, showing abilities that amazed everyone who met her. She could communicate telepathically with any species, could heal both organic and technological systems with her touch, and seemed to understand the universe in ways that pure species beings never could. "Do you ever regret it?" Zareth asked Jake one evening as they watched Kira play in their garden. The little girl was making flowers bloom just by laughing at them. Jake put his arm around his wife. They had been married in a ceremony that combined traditions from both their species. "Regret falling in love with you? Regret having the most amazing daughter in the galaxy? Never." Zareth's colors shifted to warm gold. The color that Jake now knew meant perfect happiness. "The other day, Kira told me she wants to be a diplomat. When she grows up, she wants to help other species learn to love each other the way we did." Jake smiled as he watched their daughter chase butterflies that seemed to dance just for her. With her abilities, she could probably bring peace to the entire galaxy. "Maybe that's what she's meant to do," Zareth said. "Maybe that's what all our hybrid children are meant to do, show the universe that love is stronger than fear, and that diversity makes us all better." As the twin suns of their new world set behind the mountains, Jake held his family close and knew that despite all the danger and uncertainty they had faced, every moment had been worth it. They had not just created a new life, they had created a new hope for the future of all species in the galaxy and in the years to come. As more and more hybrid children were born and grew up to become leaders, scientists, and peacemakers, Jakes,